Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Christabelle Spiritualist Church virtual sermon for this Sunday, February 14th, which obviously, as you can tell by my tie, is Valentine's Day. And we did feel that for the safety of our congregation, as well as for just everyone's comfort, that we have decided, due to the inclement weather and the bitter cold temperatures, our high today is forecast to be -1 degrees Fahrenheit. So we all decided to stay home and to help you all stay home. So if you could, grab your hot cocoa, grab your coffee, your tea, whatever you happen to be drinking in the morning, and let's settle in and let's start with our invocation and then the reading of our principles, and I will go right into my sermon for today. So without further ado, infinite intelligence. God, open our eyes to the beauty of the world, to the wonders and mystery of creation, to your presence and to your power. Open our hearts to the love of others, to their goodness and their grace, to the great love that is for everyone. Amen. And I actually thought that was a very fitting invocation when you hear my sermon today. And now, on to the reading of the Declaration of Principles. For those of you that have them memorized, feel free to read along. Otherwise, for those of you who have one, we also have our Declaration of Principles inside the front cover of our Spiritualist hymnal. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. We affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact scientifically proven by the phenomenon of spiritualism. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul here or hereafter. And finally, we affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes proven through mediumship. And I love when we get to do that at church every week. And that will be next week again, by the way. We will be back to church on February 21st, so I look forward to seeing you all there, even for those of you who I look forward to seeing there virtually. Now, good morning and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Believe it or not, I'm only going to speak briefly about Valentine's Day because it is a subject that I'm sure that we've all heard about before. Valentine's Day. It occurs officially every February 14th here in the United States, but for centuries and in cultures around the world, the entire month of February has been known as a month of romance. From the Roman festival of Lupercalia to the Victorian tradition of exchanging candy and greeting cards. I mean, it is all about love after all. We are going to go in a slightly different direction with today's sermon, however. Instead of talking specifically about Valentine's Day, we are going to tackle the question, what is love? What is love? Oh, sorry. I was told that I wasn't allowed to sing from a sermon anymore, so apologies to all of you Hadaway fans out there. You will have to sing amongst yourselves while I continue my sermon. So, what is love? I mean, after all, what's love got to do with it? We know that love is strange and that love is a battlefield, but what else could it be? Now, according to the Doors, it's a street. But what is love to you? I mean, and quite honestly, the concept of love in general is a difficult thing to really quantify. Even my favorite sermon source, Merriam-Webster, has a difficult time defining love. Apologies for the small earthquake in my camera there. My wife's cat, Dave, just decided he was going to take a leap of faith. Anyway, even my favorite sermon source, Merriam-Webster, has a difficult time defining love because it covers so many different facets of our lives. I think that alone says a lot about the all-encompassing nature of love. It's so much more than just words on a page. It is a thought, a feeling, an energy. Love is everywhere and everything. It encompasses one of nature's laws. Since love truly is everything, I think we'll be better off talking about love in three specific concepts or three specific contexts today. Since, as I said at the very beginning of the sermon, is Valentine's Day. And, since we're all nice, toasty, warm here in our own virtual congregation locations, I do think that I'm going to have to equate some of the various aspects of love to the triunes of spiritualism. They're the one of the body, the soul, and the spirit. Now, first, let's talk about the body. In that regard, I'm actually referring to the love of self aspect of that triune. Now, I know that not everyone has the easiest time not only accepting themselves, but actually loving themselves. It can be a challenge to not only love yourself, but especially to love yourself unconditionally. Especially in this day and age, where so many of us are surrounded by messages telling us how we should be not accepting who we are, that we should have always been trying to be someone else. As if being ourselves isn't good enough somehow. I think it's great. Now, for me personally, I find it very difficult to be someone other than who I am. I grew up not really liking myself and not really feeling like I fit in here on this earth plane, and I kind of have a feeling a few of you can relate to that. And so I was not very happy with myself, that is, until I decided to embrace who I am and not worry about what I thought others wanted from me or wanted me to be with my life. So, who am I? I'm an extra large medium who is also a silly student pastor. I'm sure you haven't noticed that. I'm Pepe Le Pew, the hopeful romantic, as well as a husband and a father. Have you stopped for just a moment to think about who you truly are? Are you embracing who you really are, or are you still trying to live as someone who other people tell you you should be? It really is an important question. It really is. Because true happiness comes from embracing who you are at your core. That is also how you can actually really most easily and comfortably connect with not only your soul and spirit parts of yourselves, but also it can help you to be more comfortable and easily find the people around you that you resonate with. To find your tribe, so to speak. That's really what I'm talking about here. So I do think we have spent enough time talking about how love or acceptance of self is the first phase in our triune of love. Now that I've done that, let's move on to the next phase, shall we? That phase equates to the soul part of us. That part that moves us to connect not only with spirit, but with other bodies and souls here on earth. In other words, why don't we spend just a minute or 5 talking about romantic love? Throughout history, musicians, philosophers, poets, and bards have all provided wonderful examples of romantic love. I've actually picked a poem by Percy Shelley, not to be confused with Percy Sledge, as a sort of fun or a kind of a silly example of romantic love. Now, I have said this before in previous sermons, but it does bear repeating. If I don't include at least one poem per month into my sermons, I break out in hives. So brace yourselves, everyone. Here we go. The forests mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The wind of heaven mixed forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine. In one spirit meet and mingle, why not I with mine and thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if she disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me? Sorry, I cracked myself up with that poem. I love that. The reason that I find this poem so much fun is because if you listen to carefully what Shelley is actually referencing, this is essentially the 19th century version of the "What you doing" text. He's pointing out how everything in heaven and earth exists as a pair, and then flat out asks, what is all this sweet work worth if thou kiss not me? In today's language, he's essentially saying, hey, how's it going? Wanna, hang out? And except he's saying it in a very eloquent, very kind of a fun way. But, even though this poem was written in 1819, things have changed a surprisingly small amount over the ensuing centuries. There are countless other examples of romantic love poems that we could all bring to mind. My love is like a red, red rose. Though rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. Or maybe my personal favorite, and I do think this, honestly, as much as I love Edgar Allan Poe, I do think this is my favorite poem of all time. She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies. And sorry. Okay, Dave, I'm sorry. Anyway, so moving on from poetry, think about music for a minute. I made the joke earlier about Percy Sledge, but who doesn't love the sentiment he expresses in that song? Or, for something completely different, how about I Can't Stop Loving You from Van Halen? Just about everyone who has been in a romantic relationship has, quote, their song. It can be something soft and sweet, like Lady from Kenny Rogers, or it can be something a bit less traditional, like the song that me and my bride have as our song. It's actually called We Hate All the Same Things, and it's by the Mr. T Experience. So, I know, we're so romantic, aren't we? For those of you who have had relationships with your song, let's hear it. I want you to tell me what was your song or what is your song. Don't be shy. For all of us who are watching in virtual congregation land today, please feel free to share that link to your song in the comments below the video. We want to hear it. It's fun. The wonderful and amazing thing about that soul-to-soul connection, whether it be romantic, platonic, or something else entirely, is that it helps you to feel not quite so alone. Remember, we are never truly alone. That feeling of disconnection that we all run into at times, it's just an illusion. It really is. Don't believe me? Check out our church's Reconnect with Spirit sermon, the one that you can find on YouTube. I've said this before, but just to remind you all, as your pastor, I am not going to ask you to take things on faith. I will, however, point you in the right direction so that you can help to find the answers for yourself. Speaking of finding answers for yourself, how many of you have felt the love of that wonderful infinite intelligence, that divine energy that makes up everything that is, was, or ever will be? Even if you aren't consciously aware of the love from Spirit, it's always there. Just like with infinite intelligence, our spirit guides, angels, and loved ones in spirit are always there as well. Their love for you is unconditional. There are no restrictions on that love. It is infinite and it is amazing. Even if you don't necessarily feel connected to your own spirit guides, they are always with you, always looking to guide you and protect you, and to do so sometimes from yourself. Their love is overwhelming and incredible. Just as with our spirit guides, we have the help of a group of unconditionally wise and loving energies that we call angels. We talk about angels all the time in the Spiritualist Church, but what is an angel exactly? Hey, that's a good question. At least in my personal experience, an angel or even an archangel is an unconditionally loving, caring, compassionate energy that is actually different from our spirit guides in that they've evolved to be much, much closer to infinite intelligence than our guides are. They're concerned with keeping us safe physically and emotionally, as well as spiritually, obviously. They also differ from our guides in that, unlike our spirit guides, angels don't necessarily intervene in our lives on such a close level. Both your spirit guides and your angels will generally be very respectful of your free will, and they will not necessarily interact or intercede on our behalf unless they are asked to do so. The love of your guides and your angels is an absolutely amazing thing. And I have to say that having said that, we cannot forget those loved ones that we all have who've transitioned to spirit. Our loved ones also love us at least as much as we love ourselves, or at least as much as we love them. And honestly, they probably love us more than we love them because they don't have the distractions that we do. And speaking from the experience of an extra large medium, I can tell you with quite a bit of authority that your loved ones who are in spirit absolutely love you. More than I can possibly express do they love you. It is mind-boggling just how much time and energy it takes for your loved ones to stop what they're doing and connect with you, to put forth all of that effort to make that connection with a medium or with you directly, to make their presence known to each of us. Now, okay, a show of hands out there, obviously virtually, but a show of hands out there, how many of you have had something odd happen out in the real world, if you want to call it a sign or a synchronicity, that reminded you of a loved one in spirit? Quite often, it will be something along the lines of, a song that comes on the radio, or maybe a sentimental coin that comes your way, or even possibly an animal. And it's usually a bird, but any kind of an animal acting in a way that is meant to get your attention. So, how many of you out there now have felt a loved one around you, or had a dream about that person, or even better, saw a loved one in spirit? The reason I bring this up is to show you just how much your loved ones care about you. All of those things that I am referencing, they take a tremendous amount of energy for those people to utilize in order to make those things happen. Because they love you, they are wanting to make sure that you know that they are doing well, and that they want you to see that they are still with you, still looking out for you, still wanting to be a part of your life in whatever capacity they can be. Please, please remember that you are not alone and that you are loved. You are surrounded by love, compassion, healing, and joy. Your loved ones here on earth and in spirit, your guides, your angels, and infinite intelligence, they're all here for you. And all of us here at the Christabelle Spiritualist Church, we are here for you as well. Feel the love that surrounds you, each and every one of those people, and every time you step into our chapel. Feel the love that is coming right now through this transmission, through this stream to you, and know that you are deserving of that love. As you go forth this week, don't forget the wise words of Jackie DeShannon and put a little love in your heart. And then you need to keep that love in your heart, not just on Valentine's Day, but every day. As your student pastor here at the Christabelle Spiritualist Church, and on behalf of Dave, whom I'm sure you have heard throughout this sermon, thank you and have a wonderful, warm, loving week ahead.